less than 2 months away from the start of the regular season, which is very exciting. I think October 22nd is the official start date. Still got some NBA news going on. It is a little bit of a slower time, but still some stuff to talk about. Steph got a extension. Actually, just in general, a few players getting an extension. We'll leave it at that. Which is
thank God.
Thank God. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Listen.
Like we are definitely, I mean, you nailed it. Like we are at the midst of the slow point right now. I mean, end of summer. I mean, it's Labor Day weekend. So the unofficial end of summer for us here in the US.
We are into fall.
Yeah, I mean, which when we live down there and with you living down there, you know, we're in the fall, meaning it's still 90 degrees. But
though I will say pumpkin spice has been out in certain aspects down here for like 2 or 3 weeks now. So
I got one. I'm not gonna lie, I got one at Starbucks about a week ago.
I'm not a pumpkin spice person. I do so Quinn and I in the morning, she loves Greek yogurt. So we'll eat some Greek yogurt together. And I've been buying a few different brands. I actually, this is going to show how cheap I am. I just get whatever's on sale. Like as long as it's like
10% at Publix, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
you have the little ones.
Those 10 for 10s.
Dan and the Chobani, they'd alternate like every other week.
And then the Oikos is a new one that I've been doing. It's like a higher protein one, but either way, those three I just kind of rotate. And there's actually I think there's one called like a Slim and Fit or something. Either way, there's like 4 that just whatever's on sale that week. That's the one I get. And I forget where I was going with that story.
You and Quinn eat Greek yogurt together.
Yeah, I don't remember where I was going with that though. What were we talking about? Oh my God, I just lost it.
End of summertime.
Oh, right. So Chobani, oh geez, Chobani had a pumpkin spice flavored Greek yogurt, and I was kind of like,
yeah, I've had it. I'm not gonna lie, I've had it. So when I lived, it's okay. It's not bad. I love everything pumpkin, so I'm probably willing to give it a try. Like I do genuinely get excited for the pumpkin spice latte coming back. I don't care how basic it sounds, whatever. Like I am who I am at this point. It's like the best Chobani ones are the more fruity ones. Like I like the blackberry one. I like the classic like strawberry banana ones and stuff like that. Yeah, when I worked at WOKV down there in Jacksonville, I would crush Greek yogurt every morning. And Sarah Thompson, our friend who the podcast listeners don't know, but she hated every second of it. She thought it was gross. She doesn't like yogurt. Chick doesn't like yogurt at all.
She's not vegan, is she?
She's like sort of vegan.
Okay.
She's vegetarian.
Vegetarian, that's what it was. Yeah. I kind of remember that.
Vegan, I think. I feel like she's gonna be yelling at me so hard if I'm getting this wrong. But like she's been vegetarian the whole time. But like Greek yogurt obviously is not. I don't think it was a dairy thing. I think it was more of just like I think yogurt's disgusting, and you're eating yogurt every single morning.
Now you want to know
way to get protein.
Nicole's
favorite flavor.
We really only stick to vanilla or strawberry for the most part. I just kind of stick to those two. I don't think she really prefers one or the other. But she definitely eats a ton of it. She loves it. And I'm like, all right, listen, if you're happy with it, then I'm happy with it. Like, as long as you're good.
Nothing wrong with that. What were you saying, Nicole?
Yeah, she isn't the biggest fan of Greek yogurt, but what she really judges me for is at night so that I can get a little more protein in my diet. I've been doing cottage cheese with
Go ahead.
With a little bit of fruit, like some strawberries or something, dude. And Nicole's like, "You are the grossest human." Like,
see, that wasn't to cut you off. That was because I am fully there with you, my brother. Like I love Justin. Dude. I don't even put fruit in it sometimes. I'll literally just get the thing and I'll just eat it straight. I eat it for breakfast in the morning because I always make my eggs with like the habanero hot sauce.
Yes, put it on the
cheese. Cools down a little bit too, so I'm not dying in the middle of the day either.
Let me put you onto something. And this is for anybody that, like, I guess sort of moderately cares about their fitness in a way, if that makes sense. And it will in a second. I found a TikTok video that explained how your macros are supposed to break out for certain weight that you're trying to get. And it's like a math equation. It's a whole thing. But I followed it along and I found out what, for my weight goal, because I'm having trouble with a kid getting in the gym as much. And so my diet is absolutely, sorry for the foul language, kicking my ass. So I need to get better at that. So what I did was I found out what those were. And I was like, all right, so now I know what my fats, my proteins, my whatever I try to need to get to. I went into Chat GPT and I said, with these parameters at calories at like 2,000 calories a day, with this goal for fat, this goal for whatever carbs for protein, make me a full day meal plan. And it literally, I mean, day by day, and then told me each, like, it was like oats in the morning with almonds, and your fats are going to be this and this and this, and boom, boom, boom. It came out with all this stuff. And it gave me salmon for dinner. And I'm like, what if my wife's allergic to seafood? Give me a chicken recipe. And boom, it did this whole thing. I was like, damn, dude, I just did like a personal trainer's job without realizing I did a personal trainer's job, other than the actual like implementation of like getting someone to work out. But in that, it told me at night you should do some cottage cheese with some fruits, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I do like cottage cheese. What I read online was someone said you can actually, if you're forward thinking, you can blend it, like put it in there with the fruits and blend it, and then throw it in the freezer, and it would be like, which I'm like, maybe not like ice cream because it's still like cheesy, if that makes sense. But
yeah,
like,
it's not ice cream. Let's not do that to ice cream. Like, look, they can be. I get it. I get that you're trying to make it more appealing, but
right.
like, ice cream is ice cream.
It's not gonna
like,
be sweet like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's a great idea for you. I think that is super delicious, and you're not going to get any pushback from me in the cottage cheese front. I'm right there with you.
Nicole, because Nicole looks at me like she's like, "You're literally eating like a piece of cheese with a banana," and I'm like, "But that's not how this is.
No,
Like,
it's
different.
way different. It's more like milk, kind of, and that's not going to make it more
You know,
appetizing for the people.
but like
who
when you
are
make a
sold.
smoothie, you do fruits and milk depending on
Yeah,
how you want to make it. So yeah, somebody that can buy a lot of pumpkin spice lattes and probably not worry about their bank account is going to be Steph Curry, because he did just sign a 1-year, $62.6 million extension. I did have a stat here. He'll become the 4th NBA player. And for those wondering who those other 3 are, LeBron James, Paul George, and Kevin Durant, that will pass 500 million in career earnings. He had 2 years remaining on the 4-year, $215.4 million contract that he signed in August of 2021. He was, I guess, so a little bit behind why he only did the 1 year is he was only eligible to sign a 1-year extension this offseason due to the NBA's over 38 rule, which prevents teams from offering contracts of 4 years or more to players who are or will be 38 during that deal. So we'll see what happens after that. Or if we now want to take a little bit of a deeper look as to potentially why it was only a 1-year deal.
well, I think I mean, Steph is 36 now. There's a few reasons here. I mean, one, obviously, $62 million. Like, add it for another year. Steph is the greatest player in Golden State history. There's I know there's been a little bit of whispers, especially post Olympics, of being like, hey, if the Warriors are starting to go the other direction, maybe Steph got the taste of playing with some killers again. Like, maybe he tries to go out and chase. I don't think that's going to happen. Realistically, this also matches him up with Draymond. Like, Draymond's got 2 years left on his current deal, but he's got a player option for 26 and 27. So realistically, that keeps those two paired together. I mean, Steph is 39. Like, we know his skill set. Obviously, shooting. I say it all the time that shooting ages the best on the podcast. I say that it'll age well. Like, I don't think he's at any risk of just suddenly, like, he's at the point where he can retire whenever he wants. I think this will give him the option here. You take any of the, uncertainty out of it. You say, hey, I'm making the commitment here. I want to continue here in the Bay Area. We can put any whispers of me leaving away. I want to stay with this team for my entire career, and we can reevaluate. Like, this gives us, it's like, hey, it also gives the Warriors, the front office, the ability to say, hey, we've got Steph for X more years. Maybe we max out these next 3 before we full on and rebuild.
Well, and just hold your horses before you get too far down the line, because he did drop a nugget, a line after saying, I want to be a Warrior for life, and I feel like it's possible at this point in time. He put an asterisk next to it by saying he would like to remain on a competitive team. I think the exact wording was, if it's a situation where you're a bottom feeder and it's because you want, and it's just because you want to stay there, I'd have a hard time with that. I don't think that would be a reality. So he obviously wants to be in a situation where he's always going to be competing, and in theory with the Warriors, that will always be the case with him. But maybe we run into a situation this season where injury or whatever, they are like, I guess what classifies bottom feeder in his mind in that situation? Because like, if you're going in a second year this year and you end up in the play-in tournament and get bounced or don't really go much further than that, I mean, personally, with Curry's skill set and ability, I feel like that might be what bottom feeder is, because it just that might be the lowest it would be allowed to go with him.
Well, right. I mean, I think it's worth mentioning this was a 10 seed last year and they lost the
Right.
play-in game to Sacramento. Like, this is
Right.
and I think there is a little bit of Steph putting the front office on notice here, saying, hey, I want to be competitive. I still want to go at this. Like, I am committed to you guys. But you're right. I do think that security now, if he's locked up for 2 years, also, not that other teams would be unenticed for some reason. It's Steph Curry, but
you got to go.
you know he's under contract and you really don't have to worry about it.
And
like, that's good to know as well.
And not saying that him being gone will result in a ton of more losses for the Warriors, but this is going to be a different look Warriors. This is going to be the first time we're going to see them without Clay. Obviously, he went to Dallas after 13 seasons or something like that with Golden State. So it is going to look a little different. That could be for the better or for the worse. We don't know yet. That's what the season in a month, 2-ish months will have to show us. But yeah, I feel like for the most part, Steph feels good to stay and it makes sense to stay. I just wonder with that bottom feeder comment, like, what does bottom feeder look like in his mind? Because I would argue last year was bottom feeder status a little bit.
Yeah, at least by their standards. I think
that's what I mean.
Obviously not full on tanking, but
with Curry standards, that's bottom feeder. Like,
for
that's
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors have given themselves a pretty good amount of flexibility going forward. I mean, that season, the extension is for with Steph at 26, 27. They've only got 3 players under contract. Now, with Steph, with Dre, and Wiggins is still under contract. Then, I mean, he's got a player option, but he's probably going to take it. Even in 25, 26, they've only got about 5 players under contract guaranteed. But they made moves this offseason, even with the loss of Clay, that signal, hey, we're not totally going under.
Buddy Hield being one of them.
Yeah, Buddy Hield, D'Anthony Melton, bringing Gary Payton back.
Kyle Anderson. I would like to just put out there, I saw this. I don't want to take full credit for it, but it was a thought. And then I saw someone else put it out there. And now that you said his name, it jarred the memory. I think Melton's going to be a really underrated move that kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah.
When the season starts, maybe we don't realize it till playoffs or something, but there's going to be a point where we're like, damn.
It's all about health. I mean, that's what it comes down to with D'Anthony Melton. D'Anthony Melton was phenomenal for the Sixers. Like, I loved what he was healthy, what he could bring to this team. Like, he's great ball handler, good 3-point shooter. Like, he's a playoff type player, like a good rotation guy that I think any contender should want. It's just that back injury has been lingering, and that's why he's on kind of this 1-year prove it deal. It's like D'Anthony Melton is an objectively good NBA player. It's just he hasn't been able to stay healthy the past few years. I also feel like we should bookmark this part at 13 minutes and 58 seconds into the podcast on 8/31/2024. I think it's worth mentioning Kuminga is entering his 4th year, eligible for a huge extension. The potential of the team transitioning to relying on their younger players. In my mind, fantasy sports is all over the place because football is about to happen. Kuminga might be one of those sneaky, like, late picks, depending on how mock drafts start to look for NBA fantasy players. We've always joked about, the extension years or the years that they have a chance. Contract year Kuminga. Dude,
I'm just saying it feels like the writing might be on the wall for that. There's a lot of potential love going on there. I feel like there were some frustrations with Kuminga and the steps he's taken so far. So maybe this year is where it finally does start to click a little bit, but I'm just putting it out there. It sounds like it might be a potential good, huge bounce season for Kuminga if it all clicks like it looks like they're going to try to have it happen.
Well, they're going to need young guys to step up,
Yes.
right? It's
Yes.
him, it's Moses Moody, it's Pods. Specifically with Kuminga, though, obviously with him being such a high pick a few years ago, like the potential has always been there and still is there for Jonathan Kuminga. Like he's 21 years old going into this season. His counting stats were up. His advanced stats are still like kind of drab to say the least. Like he's finally like breaking even on the offensive end. That's where he's just going to need to show some more consistency. He's got to get to be a little bit of a better defender as well. But again, he's 21 years old. His athleticism is off the charts. Like there's still, they need to have a breakout year from him. I think if they decide to, the other good thing with him too is if they decide to kind of cash in more and go for more veteran guys, I do think Kuminga is a player that has value because of his upside still. But yeah, that's a best case scenario if he's able to break out for Golden State. Like that's what they're counting on him breaking out.
Just so that I can like hype up my stats even more. You're gonna hate this. And this is such like a niche ESPN stat, but I'm doing it. In games where he plays 20 plus minutes, Kuminga has been putting up 13.1 points, 4 rebounds, 2.7 assists, about a steal and about a block a game. In comparison, a 20-year-old Giannis Antetokounmpo was doing similar numbers.
God, good Lord. I'm not going that far. Yeah, right. I did hate that. You are right, Justin. His on and off numbers are pretty good. Yeah. That's the other positive thing as well. Like his on and off numbers with the Warriors are pretty good. They're much better with him on the court last year.
I'm hyping myself up into it. We should try to work on an ESPN league. I didn't do fantasy football or fantasy basketball last year. I feel like,
yeah, I think there's enough people that we could recruit. Just either listener, I mean, we could do a listener league again too. And if the listener league is interested, tweet us. Like we would put you all.
Do we do like a hold on? So it's my first year doing best ball fantasy football. Have you ever done that?
No.
It seems more like set it and forget it. My beef with fantasy basketball is every day I have to be going in there and setting the lineups and like looking for injury. And that's where I get burnt out. Like if I have to do it more than once or twice a week, I get burnt out. So I wonder if there's like a best ball NBA strategy or it does look like they do. I'll look into it. I think we can look into that. So I'll do some research, see if there's like a best ball option where it's more like draft your team and then like you make some trades, but you don't really have to do much after that, which is kind of nice. More from the lazy fantasy person's perspective. So I'll just leave that out there.
Yeah, I'll trust you on there because full disclosure, I know nothing about it. Yeah, I don't. But a final thought on the Warriors before we get out of here. I guess. I like some of the bets they've taken, but it's tough with how good the Western Conference is. Like, it just becomes one of those things where it's like, I don't think they got radically better. And when it comes down to it, it's like, all right, who are you going to knock out of that top 8? Who are you going to knock out of that position in front of them? I don't know who I'm looking at. And I'm looking at quite a few teams that got better.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pulling it up right now just to kind of like have a visual on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody's like.
We'll talk about it later. The only argument that I could have is maybe the Clippers. If you believe the Clippers got worse, if Kawhi gets hurt,
okay,
Paul George is gone. So maybe, and again, we're going to talk a little bit about Clippers later with the Zubac signing, but
the Clippers logo. Sorry, the Clippers logo on it. It threw me. That's what really threw me off in my comment. I was like, wait, what is that logo? That took me a second. Yeah, man. I don't. But even then, is the Warriors as now better than the Clippers?
I don't know.
Their new lineup. I still think the Clippers. They might be closer in terms of win loss, but I still think Clippers might be a little bit higher.
Yeah, I think the Clippers, the Lakers are the only two. Sacramento got better.
Pelicans,
Phoenix, even with their flaws, I still think their floor is a little bit higher. Everybody else, like these other teams where it's are so obvious, where it's like, the Denvers, the Oklahoma Cities, the Dallases, the Minnesotas of the world. Like we don't even really get into them. We know they're better.
And we haven't brought up a team that could be sneaky next year, only because of injury and players being suspended. Like the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
What are they going to be next year? They had 27. They, in theory, like where were they when they were 3rd or 4th in the league? 2 years ago? So like, Ja doesn't get suspended, injuries are less. They're right in the mix, and somebody does have to pop out at that point. So that could be the Warriors, that could be the Lakers. Those seem like the two easiest teams to potentially put that on, because everybody else, you're definitely going to get some hard arguments as to why not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, and I think that's when it gets interesting. If they start to like not be in that playoff position, because even Houston too, like Memphis is the one where you're right. You think they take the radical leap and get better. Houston got better too.
I agree, and not that, because everyone gets so upset when you say they should move on from like a star player, and especially in this case, like a Steph Curry level player. But dude, like to me, if you get 10th again, then what are we doing? Like, maybe you give him another chance to get something in the draft or do a trade, but like, dude, what are we doing at
I'm
that
still not
point?
moving on from Steph. I don't care. Steph is one of those guys where it's like, I get it, and I don't think you're wrong, but you let him. You just appreciate what you got. Like, I'm not letting a player like that walk out the door.
And
I have
I
to have
agree.
the greatest offer of all time.
Well, and so that's my point: is you get the 10th seed twice in a row. Steph Curry at that point is 38.
Or Steph has to come to me and say, I would like to move on. If I'm the front office, I don't think you can sell that to your fan base. And I don't think you should. Like, when you've had a player, like if the player wants to end his career there with all that he's given
Tom Brady-ish. Yeah.
right, I think you let him rock out. And that's the decision. If you're off for a few years, you're off for a few years. But if Steph comes to you and says, I want to contend, I want to go for another team, then I think of course it's a little different. Then I think you do right by him because he's done so well right by you.
Do right by him, but also hopefully he tells you that behind closed doors so that you can still get a dope offer and benefit your team to start that potential rebuild. Because at that point, Draymond's probably going as well. Like if Steph's gone, then you're fully just resetting. Yeah. I agree. You don't move on from a player like that, but I'm also saying, like, make sure if the decline is there, which it isn't right now, but if the decline shows itself, make sure you get what you can get. And it'd be a huge haul, and don't wait till he's either walking out the door for free or your trade value or it has gotten so low that you really almost like a Zach LaVine type situation, and I know that's not a same comparison, but like they're like literally offering first round picks to try to trade him. The Bulls were. So like,
I don't think it's going to get that bad for what
I don't think it will.
I don't think there's a world where it gets that bad.
But you know what I mean? Get what you can get your worth out of it. If it is writing on the wall, it's over. Yeah.
If he comes behind closed doors and says, I want to be traded, I think you do it. But I also think, like, I don't think you just, I don't know, like and that becomes the balance, right? Because it becomes the Damian Lillard situation all over again. It's like you want to do right by your player, but you also don't want to just get like bullied into a just bad offer.
Right.
But it is also like you give that bad offer more leeway because of long term. Like you want to do right by your long term greats, and that's what Steph Curry's been there. And so, it's going to be. I don't foresee this happening, but you're right. It does make it a lot more on the table when I don't think the Warriors are going to compete the way they have in the past.
So to take it back, just because we were talking about fantasy at one point, I pulled up what like the best ball statistics, at least for fantasy football. This is where I know it works. What it does is you have your team and you play against somebody, same fantasy kind of deal. But what it does is it will automatically select the best possible lineup after the fact. So everybody scores, your bench, everybody. After the fact, it will put together the best combined score that it could. And if yours is better than the person you're playing, you win.
So it really so it idiot proofs it. You don't have to make your lineup decision. Oh,
yeah.
I don't know if I like this or not.
Yeah, that's what I like. Set and forget, baby. Set and forget.
Yeah, you're just bailing out people that aren't making good decisions.
But how many times did you play a player like a tight end or somebody, they get hurt in the first play of the game, and your other tight end goes and drops 22 on the bench, and now you don't get the credit for that?
Injuries, I'm a little more forgiving.
Yeah.
But I don't know about otherwise.
But like, think about it so again, from like the fantasy basketball perspective, I go in on Sunday, I set my lineups. I got Chris Paul, dude hurts his hamstring on the Monday game. Now the other two games the rest of the week, he's in my lineup because I forget to check. I'd rather the system just help me out there, and I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's just, I don't know. Takes some skill out of it. We
All
can talk
right,
about that
all
later.
right.
Welcome, everybody, to the Dry Minute NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Justin Cousart.
Caitlin Clark. Hi, haters.
Oh, that was Braun. I did see that. Braun was going crazy talking about Caitlin Clark last night. Shout out to our guy, Andy Jordan, who filled in last week. He was talking to me about Caitlin Clark again because she went off last night against Chicago. What was it? I think she had 31 and 12.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. 31 points. Yep.
Yeah, it reminds me in the sense of like Wemby a little bit, where you knew she was going to be great, but you kind of thought maybe there'd be an adjustment period, like adjusted the speed a little bit, adjusted the physicality. And I think there was at first. It's just, that adjustment period took like a month and a half instead of an entire season. And now it's like, oh, yeah, good luck. Like,
yeah.
She's
and
incredible.
they have the best offense in the WNBA now. At least ESPN put that out there. So
she's been so efficient too. Like the thing is, it's getting her teammates involved. Like she's just putting up double-digit assists every night. It's not like she's just lighting up the stat sheet either. Like she's actively making everyone around her better.
Yep. 31 points, 12 assists. She's the 5th player in WNBA history with 30 points and 10 assists in a game, and the 3rd to achieve this stat line in regulation. Wow.
Yeah. LeBron did mention, I think, because they were tweeting about that. I think he was tweeting about with Cuff's a legend.
Dude.
And they were talking about how they need like one more vet. And if they were to go out and get like a Chelsea Gray, it's like, look out. Like that would really kind of put Indy into like contention.
It's so funny. ESPN's so like leaning into the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark stuff. Literally after in the article about Caitlin Clark's amazing 31-point propelling the Fever to the best offense in the WNBA, the 3rd paragraph, Chicago, which held Barbie Night in honor of rookie star Angel Reese, has lost 5 straight games.
Yeah,
like,
but I mean,
dog.
I mean that does matter. But Angels play a what? Like Angels rebounding numbers are off the charts right now. Like legitimately for a rookie, she's been like dominating the offensive glass. And I mean, Angel she's a dog. Like she has you can't teach that. Like she just has a high motor. She crashes the board. She goes in and hustles for loose balls and does that extra. Like her efficiency will come. That's kind of where I'm at. Is it's like, yeah, she's a little efficient shooting wise, right? Or inefficient shooting wise right now. But you're right. She's got a lot of intangibles that she can't teach. Like she's had a phenomenal rookie year. Also, it's good for the league, but it's also just like, I don't think it's that deep anymore. Like they've been on all-star teams together. Like they don't hate each other like that.
No, but they want them to so bad.
It's good for the sport. And it has been good for the sport. Like having more star power like those two have provided. I mean, like we majority talk NBA, but even here, it's like, how much more W have we just consumed this year and watched just because of those two? Like there are more eyes on it than ever. And it's part of the W's having the same way the NBA is, where it's like, there's just more talent in the W than ever. Like there's people coming from everywhere. And it's like every one of these teams now has a woman that you want to watch night in and night out. And so that has made it's just the product quality is better than ever too. And so it's given, you get, once you get a reason like Caitlin Clark to watch, the best part of watching one player is you start falling in love with the other ones. Like it doesn't matter who you start watching. It's like, that's what leads you into the game itself and how the game grows and all that fun stuff.
I agree.
Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find us.
And we're on YouTube, so you can watch a video version of the podcast. Obviously, we'll do Immaculate Grid a little later on in the show, see if we can get a perfect again between the two brains, and we'll go from there.
I've had 8s out of 9s the last 2 days where I've really been like doing well. And then just kind of last one, I feel like I got a little too froggy. So I need to get back on track a little bit.
When I tell you I have been cooking on my LinkedIn games.
Oh my goodness. We on that note, and now a word from our sponsors.
So our boy TJ McConnell getting a huge deal. We're so excited for him with the Pacers.
We really are, man. It's such a success story.
Yeah, dude, it's great. A 4-year, $45 million extension. That news coming out just the other day. They've had themselves a pretty busy summer from the Pacers standpoint in terms of keeping its key players long term. Obi Toppin, Pascal Siakam, just to name a few people that got some longer deals. McConnell obviously holding a soft spot in our hearts because he used to play in Philly. He's also the same age as myself in his 5th season. Congratulations to him with that money. But it does open up a deeper conversation of what we want to do or what the Pacers want to do going forward. They do feel like a little bit of, for lack of a better word, the forgotten team in the East.
Yeah. And that's the big reason I want to talk about. And in a way, I'm glad this timed out where, TJ McConnell signed this extension to be there through 28, 29, because, even with Andy last week, like we've talked so much about, the Sixers and the Knicks big additions. And obviously Boston is the defending champions. And, there's always that looming Miami dragon, and everyone seems pretty high on Orlando, and Milwaukee's got Giannis. And even if they're down a little bit, like there's Cleveland had brought Donovan Mitchell back. And we say all that to say Indiana was just in the conference finals last year. Like they were further than all of these teams.
But will they be a little bit like the Hawks? They went that way and just never got back to it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the question. And because they've really doubled down on this group, which is, I mean, once you traded for Pascal Siakam last year, like that was the big question, is you had to get him locked in. And the question was the core good enough to do this? Because Siakam is 30 now. Like he's going to be he's going to be closer to 35 by the time this contract is all said and done. Yep. You've got him on a matching one with Halliburton, who again, you're betting there is going to be, take this superstar breakout that he kind of has. But you're right. All of the role players now with TJ have been locked in as well. Like you brought Obi Toppin back, who you mentioned. Aaron Nesmith is on a deal. Nembhard is on a deal. Those are all kind of matched up with this core that you have here. Matthew Urian's will have another contract coming up, and he'll be coming back off injury. But again, he's so young that he's got a player option still. Like, it's just a question. The only real looming question is after this season is what are you going to do with Miles Turner? And that's always been such a, do you trade Miles?
That's been the question every year. It feels like.
But it's last year they finally, locked in on saying, hey, we're here. Because it was funny because it was always him or Sabonis. And once they had traded Sabonis for Hallie, you kind of thought that question had been answered. He still couldn't escape those rumors. But, he was really good for them last year. He's got one more year on his deal. And again, it seems like if you're trying to maximize this team and run it back, then you should be holding on to Miles Turner. I don't think some Godfather offer is suddenly about to come from out there. There's a risk, obviously, of him hitting the open market. But maybe he signs long term too. He's been here his whole career, despite all the rumors.
And that's what I wonder. Like, what would the market for Turner look like? Definitely a player teams would want, but I wonder what that offer would look like if the Pacers were.
Yeah, I mean, he's making. Let me pull their cap up. He's around 20 mil this year. He probably gets up to like the way the NBA is going, like. I see him getting up to like 30, 35 maybe on his next deal. I mean, he's 28 years old, so he's probably going to get a 4 or 5 year deal. Like this will be potentially his last big payday, but he is still kind of in that prime age. I mean, going back to TJ, that's why this contract is so important to him as well. Like TJ McConnell is 32 years old at this point. Like he's under contract now. He's going to be, borderline, it's crazy to sound, he's going to be borderline retirement age at 36, 37. And this is a commitment to Indy. Like TJ's been in Indy since the trade from Philly. Like, he basically just got priced out of the Sixers. Like they just, given where the cap was, they couldn't really afford him there at the time. And he's made himself a name for himself in Indy, doing all the things we loved in Philly. A lot of the things that we just talked about Angel Reese doing, right? Outside of dominating the offensive glass. I don't think he's quite doing that, but it's getting your teammates involved. It's creating the extra possessions. It's, he showed out in the playoffs, like high motor guys like that. Like, again, not to be a total homer, and you talk about process success stories, like not just with the Sixers but in the league in general. Like TJ's the ultimate example about that. I mean, he quite literally only made an NBA roster because he hustled so hard at Summer League. Like he was awful offensively those first 2 years at Summer League, and even developing that, like, and credit to him for staying in the gym and making himself a TJ McConnell's gonna be like a 10+ year vet when all is said and done.
He last season is one of only 2 people who averaged 10 points and 5 assists off the bench in a single postseason. That ESPN put that set out. Michael Cooper, Hall of Famer, is the other guy who did it. He also ranked second in total assists off the bench in the NBA last season. Malik Monk actually was the only one higher than him. But that's the stuff like you were talking about, like these little intangible things that people don't realize. He's like the silent killer, and also can land one hell of a buzzer beater.
Two,
dude, it was
two
so
huge
good.
buzzer beaters for the Sixers.
And I got to see one in person in Orlando, dude. It was such a, from like the lowest of the low to the highest of the high, because I went there and I was so excited to see Embiid play for the first time. And of course it was Orlando. So he sat for some rest, and then TJ McConnell comes out there and just drills a buzzer beater. It was great. But to that, does the intangible stuff, does the low key stuff, and does it effectively. So very deserving of the contract, and smart of the Pacers to recognize that and hold on to him.
Yeah, it'll be his 14th NBA season when the contract is over. Yeah, that really is crazy to say. And you know, again, he's going to be backing up Hallie. He's kind of, you're like your perfect backup point guard. Their contracts actually match now. They're all locked in through 28, 29. So yeah, it's an investment from Indy. It's not necessarily a surprise here. In terms of the Pacers overall, going back to kind of the original point we made, of it's like where you see them falling. I mean, looking at the East standings from last year, the West has Memphis, where it's like that is a looming, and even Houston to a lesser extent. But we talked about both of those, where it's like, yeah, you could really see them making the leap this year. I don't think there's anybody in the East who you see making the leap this year, like even in the play-in position. Brooklyn, Toronto, Charlotte, Washington, Detroit. Like I don't think any of them are threatening anybody. Atlanta's a wild card, but still, I mean, Atlanta, Chicago, it's like, I feel like the book has been written at that point. And so you're already, if you're Indy, you're in the top 8. They finished 6th last year. They had the exact same record as the Sixers and the Magic, who finished 5 and 7 respectively. Obviously the in-season NBA Cup finals appearance too, the loss to the Lakers, but kind of another big highlight for them. They're going to compete. Like, do I think they're a lock to go back to the conference finals? I don't know, not necessarily, but and I know the Knicks dealt with injuries in the second round, but the Pacers dealt with injuries of their own against the Celtics. Like, I feel like it's, and again, this is going to sound super homer, but like I feel like it's hard to compare them to the Hawks, because I don't have that feeling that the Pacers, like, I don't feel like the Knicks blew it in the second round last year. When the Hawks went to the conference finals, credit to them. Man, the Sixers blew that series so bad, like so bad, and everyone knows it. And so that's kind of where I'm like, maybe I don't have that worry as much with Indy, because I don't feel that way. They did blow the conference finals. We all know that. Like, not that they were going to win it. I still think Boston was going to win that series. There's an important distinction there, that I think Boston would have slugged it out. But yeah, if I'm Indy, I'm going, that should be 2-2 at the bare minimum.
I agree with you, and I look at Indy, and for whatever reason, I just feel uninspired in terms of looking at them compared to the top tier of the East. Celtics, Knicks, Bucks, Sixers. I look at that, and I still don't feel like the Pacers are above it yet for whatever reason, and that might be me sleeping on Hallie and them, but it feels like they just need one more, like, I don't know if the word star, but one more thing that will take them over the top. One more player that will take them over the top. And I know I saw Hallie was apparently rumored to be talking to all the Team USA guys, trying to get them to come and play with them. But it just feels like they need one more something. And I don't know if that's a slight on the guys, but that's where I'm at with it.
Their third punch isn't as potent as some of these other teams in the Eastern Conference, and I think that's where, like, they've got good quality depth, but it doesn't feel, as high-ended as some of the, the Knicks have Mikal Bridges now as their third punch, for example. Philly's top 3 are, it's either Maxey or Paul George. Like, Indy's third is Miles Turner, maybe. Like, again, not a bad player, but it doesn't necessarily strike that fear. I do think Indy has good depth, though.
Yes,
Hallie is the key to me. Like, besides him being the guy, it's just like there are moments where he just looked kind of passive in the offense and deferred a lot. I know he's great at getting his teammates involved. Like, he's one of the best facilitators in the league, but it's like, I need Hallie to be that superstar guy. If he's that superstar guy, I think they can compete with anybody.
I also think a big key that I don't really know how you necessarily look into it, but it could just be a sign of a younger team. They're about 500 on the road last year, where they were 26-15 at home. You capitalize on a few more road games and you make that a little more lopsided, like you said, with how tight everything was, dude. You're at number 2, number 3 in the East, at least last year. So, maybe that's just a development thing. Maybe that's just getting a little bit older as a team, or buttoned up as a team, and we'll see if that is potentially a place of improvement next year.
Yeah, either way, I good move to bring TJ McConnell back. I guess to wrap it all up, I do think that's a move for them. Good move. They're trying to capitalize on this window, which they are. I mean, once you trade for Siakam, you just kind of signal that you're going all in. You're trying to win something here in the next few years. So, respect for them for trying, not, Ballin after making the conference finals appearance, for trying to get their way back. All right, who's balling, who's falling, our NBA version of the stock market. We always like to start with the good before the bad. So, Justin, I'll start with you this week. Who's balling?
My Ballin is going to Deuce McBride of the New York Knicks.
Okay.
He was with the Pat McAfee show the other day. I believe they were in Michigan. As you know, college football, at least for us right now, is starting up actually really soon. But starts this weekend. And between a little banter between him and Pat McAfee himself, there was a conversation of if he could land a 3-point shot into what was like a basketball net in the crowd of students. And there was a bet made if he could do it. Pat McAfee was going to pay for this kid's tuition, probably pre-set up and all this stuff, but I'm still a sucker for good TV. And Deuce comes out here and he drills it. And obviously the crowd goes crazy. The kid got his tuition paid for. And it's funny because the highlights say it was a 3-point shot. That thing was more like a half-court shot. Like, it is objectively a far shot. And he drills it. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, he sank a lot of big shots for the Knicks this year. I'm actually just watching this for the first time. I didn't see this.
It's a good shot. I bet the crowd, like, that's got to be an electric feeling to hit that shot for Deuce. Like, you hit that, and that whole crowd goes crazy.
It's college game day.
Yeah,
like, that's
dude.
The thing. And I mean, he's back on campus in West Virginia.
Was it West Virginia? Did I have it wrong?
Yeah, it's in West Virginia.
Oh, dude, I was way off. Okay.
Yeah, no. So he was at West Virginia because he played college at West Virginia.
Yeah.
The crowd loses it. I mean, obviously, college game day, they're already amped up as it is. Lord knows West Virginia is a party school.
I've been to one college weekend party weekend at West Virginia, and I won't go into much of the story, but I watched a man take a knife and stab himself in the leg with it because he was so drunk.
All right. Well, that took a darker turn than I expected. I didn't really know what I think. And at least he did it to himself, I guess, and didn't stab somebody else.
It was insane. The guy's like, I'm so drunk, I can't feel anything. All right, well, let's go to the hospital.
He bobbied himself, basically, like sitting in the hospital thing, more or less. Just that is wild. I will never understand that. But I mean, hey, listen, man, good for Deuce. Deuce is a bit of he's a bit of a folk hero in New York right now. Kind of one of those like, role player breakout stories that people pick up on. And, obviously certainly making himself some friends here down in West Virginia, if he didn't have them already, but getting kids tuition will certainly help. All right. Balling for me this week is Ivica Zubac back with the Clippers, 3 years, $58.6 million contract. He's now tied to the Clippers through 27-28. Last year, career high 11.7, 9.2 rebounds. He was average, more importantly, 16.2 points in that series loss to Dallas. Zubac has been really solid for the Clippers for a while. And this is a team that's obviously in the post Paul George era kind of reinventing itself here a little bit. But he's been a staple of this team the last few years. Has had a lot of roster changes. He's kind of provided a sense of stability. He's a really solid NBA big. Like, I think this is a good move for the Clippers.
To that stability, a big part of Plumlee left as well. Actually went to Phoenix. So, shoring him up, making sure you have that set person for the Clippers is important. And last year had a career best. Hold on, I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, had a career best 11.7 points and shot a 64.9% almost 10 rebounds, almost 2 blocks a game last season. So yeah, definitely deserving of a contract. So good for him.
Yeah, and I mean, there aren't really many. I mean, for 26, 27, him, Kawhi, and Derrick Jones Jr. are
Yeah.
the only ones tied to the team at that point. We talk about some of the security with these other teams that have a few more guys out that far, but yeah, I mean, it's a big change for the Clippers this offseason, obviously. Losing Russ, losing PG, but you did bring Harden back. You got Batum back, who obviously we know is a guy that we're really high on. Zubac locking him down was a good signing. They kept Terrence Mann too, who's somebody, and I'm interested to see if they don't give him a long-term contract, because he's a guy that, I mean, he was involved in every trade rumor, and Ty Lue was pretty adamant that said, we are holding on to Terrence Mann. We're not letting him go. He's a big part of this team going forward. And so you would imagine that they lock up a deal with him here sooner than later. It's tough. Like, Norm Powell is still there. He's a guy I like as well, can score in bunches, but they are. It still does seem if there's going to be a team that potentially slips, it could be them.
Definitely from the higher rankings in the West, I would say, yeah. I tend to agree with that. So they could potentially be on our Ballin and Fallin feature in the near future, depending on how it goes.
If Kawhi gets hurt, like, it could go south real fast with the Clippers. And so
although watch them do like stereotypical Clippers, like no actual star on the team yet still make like a 6 seed or something.
They finally have no I mean, it's hard to say no actual star when you employ Kawhi Leonard, but right. It's like
no, but they finally
don't have expectations that Kawhi puts a healthy season together, they go out and they break the drought. Yeah. I mean, Lord knows they'd love that the first season of their new arena finally put on the board. So
dude, I would be calling foul so fast if they win this year. It would be like, it's scripted. It's scripted.
The Clippers have gone through enough where I'm like, you know what? I can handle scripted. The Clippers getting one.
Scripted.
We have to look at one of these days the teams that don't have titles and where it ranks on it, because obviously there's a lot of droughts out there too we can talk about, but the teams that don't have one, who has the most pain with it versus.
Or we should look at what we should do is a deep dive for an investigative journalistic podcast approach of teams and how they did when they got a new stadium. Like, what was the record? Was it up or down?
That's a good one. No, I'm genuinely curious about that. I don't think there are many teams that don't have one as I'm looking at it. I'm counting
Are you just talking only NBA or?
Yeah, any NBA titles, because I'm looking at the East right now. Orlando doesn't, Indy doesn't, Brooklyn doesn't, Charlotte doesn't. I think the Wizards have one back in the 70s. I got to check on that, but I'm pretty sure the Wizards won in the 70s. And that's it. Those are the only four because Toronto won. There are droughts. There are obviously some pretty long, Atlanta hasn't won since the 60s. And I don't think it was in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure it was, they were in St. Louis. It was with Bob Pettit.
Yeah.
They beat the Celtics. They're one of 2 teams that beat the Celtics. And then the West, OKC doesn't. OKC, they have one as the Sonics.
Yeah, so it says there's 10 active NBA teams that have not yet won an NBA
Minnesota, the Clippers, Phoenix,
Brooklyn,
the Pelicans,
Pacers.
The Kings won. The Kings haven't won in Sacramento. They won in Rochester as the Royals.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, yeah. And who do we miss? Nets, Hornets, Indy, Clippers, Grizz, Minnesota, Pelicans, Orlando, Suns, Jazz.
Yeah, Jazz. That was the only other one I was missing.
That's the 10. But what? Out of 32, there's still 10 that haven't. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's dynastic, and again, that's not counting some of these who haven't won in their current destinations. I said, Sacramento's, the Atlantas, that would add 2 more.
Yep.
Because there aren't
OKC, like you said in the new one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick. No, never mind. I was gonna say real quick, which of those do you think is the next easy one to break it? And it's if you count OKC, it's OKC.
Yeah, but if you're looking at Nets, Hornets,
Minnesota.
Nets, Hornets, Indy, Clippers, Grizzlies, Minnesota, Pelicans, Orlando, Suns, Jazz, my money, my betting odds would either go to the Timberwolves or the Suns, and it feels like
Yeah,
it's probably
absolutely.
not much close. Like,
The
Clippers are
Suns
probably in there somewhere, Pacers are in there somewhere, but, like, definitely not as close as what I would put on the Suns
the
or
Suns
Timberwolves.
rank high on the brutal list because they've been good a lot. Like, the Suns had
Yeah.
all those Nash teams. They were in the finals a few years
Chris Paul.
ago.
Yep.
They were in the finals in the 70s, with, Connie Hawkins, I believe.
Is there a team that's never been to the finals? So a team that's
Definitely.
never been to the finals.
Charlotte's never been to the finals.
That's actually
Um,
5 of the 10 that we listed above have never been there. Clippers,
I believe it.
Minnesota, Charlotte, Memphis, and Pelicans.
That's crazy. I mean, I believe it. It makes sense, but yeah, man,
That hurts.
it hurts. And like I said, there's a lot of
Really
these teams in
puts
droughts
really
too.
puts our what it really puts our Sixers despair in perspective, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. Sixers haven't won since it's been a while. I mean, Sixers haven't won since '83. Like, it's been quite a
Yeah.
bit. Like, there aren't
Well,
many teams that have longer droughts that have won. It was the Bucks did until the Bucks won recently. The Knicks have a longer one. The Hawks, who we mentioned, the Kings, um,
doubling down on our
the Wizards in the '70s, the
mhm.
Sonics won in the '70s, if you count the Thunder.
Doubling down on our negativity on teams that haven't been to the finals or won a finals. My Fallin is going to be Memphis Grizzlies.
Well, you were high on them earlier after we talked pretty good about
I
them. So
know.
go for you.
But it's for their forward Gigi Jackson the second, who has to undergo some surgery. Broke his foot the other day. His fifth metatarsal in his right foot. Um, I think it happened on Wednesday. He was a second round pick in 2023, had himself a really good summer league this year. He was the youngest player in the league last year, and averaged 14.6 points a game and was on the all rookie team, second team selection. So, bummer we're not going to get a full season out of him. I think they said January is the most likely return time for him. So hopefully the healing goes well and he'll be back.
Yeah, he's been good in the G, like you said, and no pun intended, but he
Oh,
has been pretty good down there. And so yeah, one of those young guys that you were maybe hoping could crack the Memphis rotation this year. So that is a little bit of a disappointing setback. Again, still young, thankfully, but yeah, for a guy that looked like he was in line for some more minutes, really competing for a true rotation spot, that is pretty disappointing if you're Memphis. Fallen for me this week, and unfortunately, we got to turn the jokes off real quick for a second, is a non-NBA story. I am going to mention the passing of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. Johnny, a huge NHL star, Johnny Hockey for Calgary, for Columbus is who he's playing for now. Both just super sad, hit and killed while riding bikes by a drunk driver. The drunk driver has been arrested. He's facing charges, obviously.
right.
Back home, the day before their sister's wedding in southern New Jersey. For those who don't know New Jersey, where they were, like down south in Salem County, it's pretty rural down there. Like, Jersey is very well populated for most of the state, except down there. Down there, it's a lot of like dairy farms,
Yeah.
corn farms, stuff like that.
Which
Um, and
corn
so
bears.
that's where they were, they were, again, back home. This is where they grew up. And so, it's South Jersey to that extent, Philadelphia metro area as well. Definitely feeling that loss as well. But I just, beyond the fact that their family and that they're fathers and have kids and that they were 31 and 29, so just way too young. It's more disheartening to this time around because it's just so entirely preventable. And that's where it's just like, and I'm glad the person who hit and killed the Goudreaus is going to face charges and his life is ruined. He's probably going to spend a massive amount of time in jail, as he should. He killed 2 people. But like, it just, again, it's like drunk driving in 2024 is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, man. Not not something you want to be doing. And I feel like that's just like the overall conversation. And now it feels like with how available taxis and Ubers and now these self-driving cars. I don't know if they're out in Jersey yet, but I definitely saw one in LA, which
Yeah.
it's a mind-boggling to see, but like just so many other options than doing that.
It's a rural area. Like, I'm not going to sit here and Uber isn't everywhere.
No, I agree. I agree.
Like, figure something out. Like,
don't do it. Yeah.
like, we know what this is. And especially down in an area like Oldman's Township where they were at, like, it's very rural. All those roads are you can pick up a lot of speed there very quickly. And the report is that he was being aggressive on the road. He was frustrated by a slow vehicle in front of him, and so he decided to try to be aggressive. And then you run two people over who are on bikes in the bike lane, and it's all bad, dude. It's really, really disappointing. One of my biggest Flyers disappointments is that Johnny Gaudreau basically was all but outside the facility with a sign that said, "Bring me home. I'm leaving Calgary. I want to come back home." And the Flyers just said, "Nah, we're okay." Just because of his ties like around here. But yeah, that's really, for Calgary and Columbus, that's a really tough loss. It's disappointing. It was I finished my run yesterday, and that just like kind of took the steam out of me the most, like, sports wise death since Kobe.
Yeah.
But at least with Kobe, like, nothing's okay, but at least with a helicopter crash, there's a little bit of just like, there was weather, like something just crazy happened. Where with this, it's just like so preventable and just disappointing, extremely. And the day before the wedding too, it's all bad.
I don't know how you could have that wedding.
They did. I mean, obviously it's canceled. But it's all bad. Man. All right. Let's, on a much more positive note, let's switch gears here a little bit, get into some Immaculate Grid. And as always, a reminder, you can watch the Immaculate Grid on our YouTube page. Just search Driving Dish NBA podcast. We will have the video version of it. Oh, Justin's giving me the sigh. That means a lot of categories. That's not good.
We got this. No doubt. This is a no doubter. We got this.
I haven't even pulled it. I would say you haven't even pulled it up yet. So let's see. I love your confidence already. Oh yeah, we definitely got it. All right. So again, for the podcast listeners, I should say, who aren't watching on stream, our columns this week from left to right are the Sixers, 10 rebounds a game per season and 5,000 career assists. Our rows from top to bottom are the Celtics, the Pelicans, and MVP. And so, Justin, I'll ask you, where do you want to start it this week?
Drew Holiday literally works in like so many of these.
So many. Sixers, Celtics, Sixers, Pelicans.
Okay.
10, not 10 boards, 5,000 assists though, I think.
JJ Redick also works.
Oh yeah, for Sixers Pelicans, yes, he does.
Yes, I low key think either Nerlens Noel or Jahlil Okafor also works for Sixers Pelicans.
Okafor works for sure. I don't think Nerlens does. Okafor does.
Yeah. So we got that. I feel like that might be a low one.
All right, well, let's be smart about where we're going to place these people. I think Drew will be lowest in the 5,000 career assists, whether it's Boston or whether it's New Orleans. I'm inclined to say New Orleans because he did spend more time there. And again, that's where when he clamped Dame, I feel like that was Drew Holiday's like national breakout.
Yeah.
Like, no, this dude is really good. Boston, though, with all the names they have too, but he was also, again, he was just on the team this past year. So it's like, just won a title there, pretty recency bias. And so I'm leaning put him in New Orleans for 5K career assists and not Boston, but I'm fine either way. I think it'll be pretty low in the grand scheme. I also don't know many others for New Orleans. New Orleans 5K assists. I'm like
Chris Paul.
Oh yeah, Chris Paul's an easy one. Yeah, that's easy.
But I bet that's going to be what everybody puts. If I had to
guess. I would think that as well. I don't think Pete Maravich had 5K assists. I don't know.
So I will say for our middle here, it's usually my go-to when it's Pelicans 10 rebounds, Boogie, from the like 20 games he played before he got hurt.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive. I'm pretty sure I always put Boogie in that situation because he was having, I believe, a decent season.
Boogie quietly became an Immaculate Grid darling at the end of his career. Like all the random teams, like he played for the Rockets, he played for the Clippers, he played for the Bucks. Like,
Yep. So I think he works Pelicans 10 rebounds.
I'm pretty sure he does too, and I'd be fine with that there.
DeMarcus Cousins.
It's such a short tenure, and we always say it leaves us want more a little bit.
Yep. All right. So you want to go Drew Holiday, 5,000 plus assists
Yeah,
for Pelicans?
yeah, because I think he'll be significant. You're right. I think,
Oh, why is
I
it?
think
Holiday.
the
We'll get it. Oh, Jay.
yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I think Boston has a lot more options, and I think Chris Paul is going to be really chalky for New Orleans. I think everybody's going to kind of put New Orleans there.
So
Know who works or no, he doesn't work, but I thought he would work for a second. I did think Elfrid Payton would fly because I knew he did Pelicans, but he didn't actually play for the Sixers. They drafted him, but they,
he didn't. Yeah. So I do have a Sixer that was recently a Sixer that I'm pretty sure played for a short stint with the Pelicans. I think Buddy Hield played for the Pelicans.
Yeah, Buddy Hield definitely played for the Pelicans.
So that would be another one that would be pretty, I think, low key in terms of the connection status for Sixers Pelicans.
Who were the main ones you mentioned? You mentioned Buddy, you mentioned Ja, you mentioned JJ. Yeah, JJ ended his career there. That'd be kind of interesting, but I feel like people like JJ.
Yeah. Oh, Jahlil Okafor was the other one we said. Jahlil probably the lesser known of all those guys just because he didn't play that long.
Yeah. Buddy was only on the Pelicans, though, for a little bit because he got drafted and then he got basically shipped to Sacramento right away.
Yeah. So Buddy might be another option.
Yeah, because I mean, he only spent, granted, it was last year, but he only spent half a year with the Sixers.
You want to do Buddy?
That was crazy. I want to look up what that trade was again because I remember that now. I'm trying to remember who he got traded for so early. I'm fine with Buddy there.
4%. Okay.
Okay. All right. I mean, probably because it was recently. I think with the Sixers, that's where all that 4 comes from. Okafor probably would have been lower, but like whatever. I feel like we've used him before. All right. Let me see. We're traded to the Pelicans with Tyreek, Langston Galloway, and a 2017 first. Oh, dude, of course we should. He was in the Boogie trade. That's why we should have definitely. Now I'm extra glad we used Buddy there. I forgot they were in that trade together.
I didn't realize they were in that trade together.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense because I was like, he went to Sacramento pretty early, but you're right. The Pelicans drafted him, and he played games.
You know who else? You know who else works for Sixers? Celtics is Evan Turner.
Yeah, Evan Turner works. Al Horford works. Al Horford's the one that everybody's going to use. Drew would have worked. Evan Turner works, and I'm way more inclined to use Evan Turner than anybody else so far.
Didn't Nick Stauskas play on Boston for a second?
Nick Stauskas did play on Boston for a second. The other guy who recently here and just got the key to the city, Marcus Morris, played for the Celtics and the Sixers.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so who do we want to use then? I feel like all those are good options.
Stauskas or Marcus or Evan Turner will be the lowest. I mean, Horford is the chalky one.
Horford's going to be chalky. Drew Holiday is going to be chalky.
Well, we can't use Drew. We've used Drew.
Oh, right. But in terms of, I bet that's one of the most common answers.
He would have been chalky for sure.
Let's go Stauskas.
Okay.
Let's go Stauskas.
I'm cool with that.
How does he spell it? S-T-A-U?
A-U? Yeah.
Okay. Stauskas. Wow, 0.7. Okay,
nice.
baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was at Stauskas, or he was at Boston late.
Now,
okay.
Here's a question.
Okay.
Do we think Porzingis had 10 plus last season?
He might have. Man, I am,
because that would be an interesting call.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious chalky one is Bill Russell. I think that goes without saying.
Bill Russell, do you think Kevin Garnett had 10? He had to have,
in
right?
Boston? I'm pretty sure he had 10 in Boston. He's still basically in the prime of his career.
Yeah. Al Horford, probably not, or is too close to call?
Well, Horford's always too close to call because he's a good rebounder, but he's not like a 10 board a game guy. I mean, Robert Parrish is the other one from the 80s. Like Robert Parrish was for sure grabbing 10.
I'm trying to think like when Olenek was there, he wasn't grabbing 10, but was it Al and who else?
They had Daniel Tice, but he wasn't grabbing 10 a game.
I wonder if Porzingis.
I'm trying to think. What about like Aaron Baines? But again, he's not a 10 a game guy.
No, I don't think it was enough. I feel like the easiest move is probably Garnett's probably going to be more common in the ones we've mentioned.
If we're going to do a common guy, I say we go Robert Parrish over Garnett. and over Bill, because I think Robert played in the 80s with McHale and with Bird. And so he's kind of like the third guy there that people may not go to as much.
Okay. Let's do it then.
Loki McHale might work too, but he's popular. It might be one.
PAR?
It might be one R.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, it's just one R. Okay. All right, there we go. 31%. Wow. Okay.
I'm looking at Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale did not do it. Okay, damn, he's close. He's at 9.9. Oh, that'd been brutal to miss at 9.9. Let me see. I'm gonna check Porzingis and I'm gonna check Kevin Garnett.
Porzingis would be an interesting one just because I'm curious.
Neither of them won MVP in 10 games per season, so I'm not cheating.
Okay.
Or no, you know what? Garnett did win. Actually, you know what?
Well,
Garnett works for 10 a game in MVP. Now that I think about it,
we could do that.
He won MVP in Minnesota, right?
I don't know.
I think he won in Minnesota in like 03. Whatever year they were first in the West, I think he won.
Okay.
He definitely had 10 a game per season, for sure. Like that.
Oh, yeah,
somewhere
definitely.
along the line, he had 10 a game per season. Right. We can table that. We'll come back to that. 5K assistant MVP is easy. There's plenty. I mean, that's probably the
76ers MVP. Now, would it be?
Two, I think.
Well, but let me follow your thinking for a second, because James Harden works.
But I think they have to have won it with the team.
Do they?
Check the rules. I'm pretty sure
with the team. You're right. Okay, good call.
Because that did limit it. You're right. Harden would absolutely work.
So yeah, what is it? It's. I mean, Iverson's the probably more common one.
Oh, Embiid.
Oh yeah, Embiid.
Embiid is the recent one. It's Embiid and AI. Barkley didn't win it in Philly. He won it in Phoenix. I don't think, I'm Dr. J probably won it at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Moses Malone probably won it too, but I don't know if he won it in Philly.
Let's throw a Hail Mary and do Moses.
Oh wow, you want to risk potentially getting it wrong? That's crazy.
Yeah. I feel it.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Oh man, I don't know if he won it in Philly. He won it for sure.
Oh, he got it, baby.
Okay. Good for you, dude. Freaking A.
I had zero. I'm going to be honest with you. I had 0% knowledge of if he did or not.
So he won it the year. I guess he was in Philly longer. Let me pull this up.
He had. Well, I mean, obviously he won it, so he had to have done it with the Sixers. But yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, he won it in 82 and 83. He won it the year before too.
Okay.
With Houston, because he won it with Houston. I remember him winning at least. Well, he won 2 in Houston. Wow. I knew he had won at least 1 with Houston.
So
damn, I didn't think he won it. Wow, that's crazy. He is. Yeah, he's 3-time MVP, 2 in Houston, 1 in Philly. So Moses won in Philly. Irving won 4 times. So Irving won in Philly too. And I think now that I think about it a little more, I'm pretty sure Wilt would have had to have won MVP at one point while in Philly. But yeah, Iverson and Embiid would have been the chalky ones for me.
So do you want to go Garnett here? Tim Duncan would also work.
We got a Hail Mary. Tim Duncan. I mean, there's a ton that work. Like Tim Duncan works. Yeah. Bill Russell works. Like Wilt Chamberlain works.
Kevin Garnett works at 2%.
Nice. All right. Now I want to cheat. I didn't actually look at him. I want to go back and see if he had 10 a game in Boston. Porzingis didn't, by the way. Porzingis and Horford would both have not worked for Boston.
Wow. Okay.
Garnett didn't in Boston. He had 9.2 was his highest total rebounds per game in Boston. So he would have got that wrong. He broke 10 basically every year in Minnesota, except his first 3.
That's wild.
His MVP year was 03-04. He did, which is the year they were first in the Western Conference. So we were on point with that.
So for 5,000 assists and MVP, Westbrook and Harden both would work. I feel like they're probably going to be chalky.
I mean, the other obvious ones are LeBron,
Kobe.
Is Kobe a 5K?
He has to, right?
I feel like he has to as well, but then I think about Kobe a little more, and I'm like, does he?
Okay. Steve Nash.
Steve Nash definitely works. Magic
Dirk?
Johnson's an obvious one. Dirk, I'd be more confident with the rebound than the assists.
Yeah, Dirk is definitely more confident with rebound, but
Kobe
Mike
played for 20 years. You're right. He had to have stumbled into 5K assists, right?
Allen Iverson?
Yeah, Iverson definitely has 5. He's a point guard. I would think that he got it.
There's a chance that he is a more common answer with MVP, so it might free up and make this really low if he does have 5K.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you think he does? He's got to have it, right?
I'll be a homer. Yes, he definitely has 5K.
I mean,
he's a point guard.
I know, but
no, I know. I hear you.
5%. There we go. Okay.
Let me look at 2 now. I want to see if. All right. Let me look this up. Okay.
Do you think
Iverson was, I'll give you credit. Iverson was closer with assists than I thought. He had 5,600. He had 5,624. Kobe did break it. Kobe had 6,000. He was
okay.
Well
okay, so Kobe would have worked too.
He's a guard. Like, that's the thing is, it's like you feel like a guard who plays that long and is that dynamic has to have done it somehow. But
yeah.
All right. Celtics 5K assists. The obvious one is Bob Cousy.
Does Kyrie have it? 5K already?
Maybe. The only reason I'm not more bullish on it,
he's still playing, which makes me nervous.
All the injuries too.
Well,
like,
and I know
missed a fair amount of time.
And I know from conversation, because we've gone down this road before. Kemba Walker does not have 5K.
Dude, that's crazy because you're right, and that's an insane statement that Kemba doesn't.
But I've gone down that before and been wrong on that one before, so I know for a fact he doesn't.
Okay,
but
so
Kyrie,
I'm a little. Kyrie, the only reason I'm not going hammer it is because just all the injuries. All the injuries scare me off of Kyrie a little bit.
I agree.
Isaiah Thomas didn't play nearly long enough.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good one. Yeah, other point guards. Before
I'm trying to think of like
Isaiah.
the boomer guards, like the JoJo Whites of the world and stuff like that. Or like Havlicek, or I don't feel nearly confident enough in any of those guys. The only boomer I'm 100% confident in is Bob Cousy. Bob Cousy definitely had 5K assists.
Yeah, who else would be doing assists on?
I mean, it could Havlicek was a guard. It could have been Havlicek. He did play for a long time. Do you think Paul Pierce has 5K assists?
Well, so that's what I'm thinking about. Paul Pierce and then what's his name? Neither of those guys. They were shooters though, right? 5K's a lot.
Oh, Ray Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Ray. Well, they were more shooters. I would maybe go Ray over, but Ray was on the bench a lot at the end of his career.
I don't. I'm trying to think of who was the point guards before that.
You know who might work? Because he played for Boston at the end of his career, and so he's not really a Boston guy.
Oh, Rondo.
Oh, Rondo definitely works. Rondo's the obvious one. Yeah, Rondo's.
I was like, why can't I think of who the point guard was?
Rondo definitely works. The one I just thought of, he played at Boston for a stint. I don't remember if it was at the beginning or the end of his career. Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell definitely played long enough to have 5K assists.
Okay.
And I feel like no one really associated him with Boston, so I feel like that's where he would maybe sneak in.
You want to go Cassell then? Because my only other option would probably be Rondo, which I have a feeling is going to be the go-to for everyone.
Rondo will be high. I mean, Larry Bird probably did it too. But
Larry,
cool. I'm cool going Cassell.
There's no like
Ray and Paul Pierce. I just don't feel confident enough about. Everybody that's on the team now is too young. Kemba did it. Kemba would have been my other where.
No, but who are they running the offense through? No, because there's no like point where they would be doing like a big man that would just be like a surprise. Oh man, that would have worked.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a guard that was their late career, maybe that was coming off the bench but had a line. I mean, that's kind of I don't know.
Yeah, like who after they got rid of Isaiah Thomas, who was their point guard?
Kemba. Well, Kyrie.
Okay, so it was an immediate.
No, they traded for Kyrie and then Kemba.
So then, who was before Isaiah Thomas? Rondo? Wasn't there someone in between?
Between Rondo and Isaiah Thomas? Yeah,
maybe.
I'm sure there was.
I'm just trying to
think it was anybody good.
That's fair. I'm trying to think. Or was there someone that was there with Rondo and then left?
But Rondo went to Dallas. They traded to Rondo when the Brooklyn squad blew up.
Yeah.
Or like when they traded everybody in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? When they traded Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett.
And like Felton never went over there. I doubt Felton even has 5K assists,
I
but
was gonna say I don't
you
think
never
Felton has
know, man.
5K.
But I'm trying to think of like who. I feel like there's one obvious one we're missing. But okay, you want to go with who were you saying?
Sam Cassell.
Yeah, you want to go with Sam?
I do. I think he'll get it. Like, if it's not Sam, I think Havlicek, but Cassell, I think is going to be so low.
All right, let's just nail in the coffin this thing. Boom, baby.
Oh, good work. Good work.
17 options. Hold on. I want to see this. 17 options for 5K assists. Oh, Mike Conley. That's who I was thinking of.
Oh, it wouldn't have worked for the Celtics, though.
It says he was. Wait, why would they?
Mike Conley?
Oh, no, they don't have this broken up ID. I hate the way StatHead does this, dude.
Yeah.
They don't show team. I assumed this was all under the Andre Iguodala works for 5K assists.
That's cool.
That's a good one to keep in your back pocket.
It definitely is. Paul Pierce and Ray Allen did not have 5K. They both were in 4, but not 5. Who else did we mention? John Havlicek did. John Havlicek had over 6.
Joe Johnson has literally one.
Joe Johnson would have worked.
Joe Johnson literally has 5,001 assists.
That's incredible. Are you kidding me?
That's dead serious.
Dude, I love that. I love that so much. I hope he planned that.
Raymond Felton does.
That's crazy.
He has 5,096. Darren Williams. Did he ever play on the Celtics?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Sam Cassell right there. Tony Parker, Mike Bibby, Mark Jackson.
I don't think Bibby ever played for the Celtics either.
No, I'm just going down. Kobe, Tim Hardaway, Garnett. Garnett does.
Oh, that's wow.
Garnett has a lot more than 5. He has 5,445. Avery Johnson, Muggsy Bogues. Now we're kind of getting back there.
There's some good names. No, either way, though.
Larry Bird does.
Do you want to scroll down and do the most common answers for these? All right, so for Sixers and Celtics, Al Horford. For Celtics, 10 boards a game, Bill Russell. For Celtics, 5K career assist, Rondo. For Sixers and Pelicans, Drew Holiday. For Pelicans, 10 boards a game, Anthony Davis, who I don't think we mentioned at all. That's funny. And for Pelicans, 5K assists, Chris Paul. Sixers MVP, Joel Embiid. 10 boards a game per season and MVP, Shaq. And MVP 5K assists, Steve Nash. And to recap our board, Sixers Celtics, we got Nick Stauskas. Celtics 10 boards a game, Robert Parrish. Celtics 5K assists, Sam Cassell. Sixers Pelicans, Buddy Hield. Pelicans 10 boards a game, DeMarcus Cousins. Pelicans 5K assists, Drew Holiday. Sixers MVP, Moses Malone. MVP 10 boards a game per season, Kevin Garnett. And MVP 5K assists, Allen Iverson. So not too bad. I liked a few of those guesses. I'm not going to lie. Garnett's placement I liked. I like Buddy Hield a lot too. And I liked you nailing Moses Malone. That was weirdly one of our higher percentages. But definitely respect you nailing that he did get it the year they won the title in 82 and 83. Shout out to Moses. Shout out to Dr. J. Maybe one day we'll see another one of those, but unfortunately we're kind of on that drought list as well. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Happy Labor Day. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, anywhere you find a podcast, you can find us.
And like we always say, we are got a video version of the podcast up at YouTube or on YouTube. You can find us there. Just search Driving Dish NBA podcast. Subscribe, and you'll be able to see a video version, especially the part where we do the Immaculate Grid.